We back.
All right, we're back. Okay, we're once again here in St. Louis, Missouri, downtown,
It's a
and
beautiful day outside today.
it's a wonderful day. And you've been talking about all kind of amazing things about who you are as far as being a community activist and organizer of for justice as far as economically and civically. And you talked about how you've gone through the levels of the White House and everything else, and met the president when it came down to the situations that were happening here in St. Louis as far as the killing of Mike Brown on August 9th, 2014. And now, once again, we're back on track. You've been in the White House. You're sitting down at the table with the president, along with other um, community organizers and activists, such as Reverend Al Sharpton and everything else. So you're sitting there, and what was the first thing that you had to say to the president? What was the first thing?
So actually, when that picture when you seen me shaking the president's hand, it was just the president and the young people in the room for 45 minutes. He even extended the time because the conversation just went so in depth on different ideas on what we think we can do to better our community, from actually having better policing and community policing. We had a conversation about like what is community policing. We had a conversation on having officers to have more training, having officers, not just more training because we hear that a lot, but having training specifically around culture understanding. Because there's a lot of officers that are go through this typical training that they have to go through before they hit the streets, but a lot of officers that may be coming from South St. Louis that is serving people in North St. Louis, the young kids don't necessarily even understand them. So being able to understand who they're supposed to be protecting and serving. We had talked about different issues that happened in Florida, from Trayvon Martin to Mike Brown to Eric Garner, and how they all connect, how all our communities are the same, and just continue to throw out different solutions. And as we had a conversation with the president, I'm not gonna lie, he was really engaged. You can tell he was into everything we were saying. He didn't even blink an eye almost. I mean, legs crossed, arm up, just engaged, wanting to hear exactly what we had to say. I really felt like we had his ear. He even offered us some fruit off the table. I should have took it just to have it, right? It would have went bad, but no. But seriously, he was really engaged. After we had talked with the president about 45 minutes, and like I say, he even extended the time. They had knocked on the door. It's like, Mr. President, we're ready for you. I didn't know what they was talking about, but he was like, 10 more minutes. It's like a little trap door. He was like, 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes. So we had 10 more minutes with the president. Then after that, the activist and myself went out of his office, down a long hallway, out of the White House, next door to the White House, went inside, and then we went into a larger press conference room. And as we started to enter the room, I started to see faces that I usually see on TV, national television. Started to see Vice President Joe Biden, Mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio. I actually sat next to him, got a selfie. I also had met the Attorney General at the time. It was Eric Holder, and seen individuals such as like Reverend Al Sharpton, senators from different states that I also just seen from like CNN interviews, right? So I started to question, and being unaware how things go, being new to stuff, I just started to question how real everything was. And being at the table with individuals that I didn't agree with their politics all the time, I didn't agree with the way that they are going about things now, being a national name, knowing that they've done amazing work, but you know, being a national name now, and how that goes about, I was a little disappointed. And at the time I said that, as I did an interview, I said I was disappointed. After we had left the White House, I wasn't disappointed, and I was very grateful and humbled that the President of the United States honestly wanted to hear, I say, not stories from the young people. And when a lot of people didn't want to listen to the young people, he actually wanted to hear solutions from us. But I was just a little disappointed of the setup. But even in the big conference room, he even gave me a little shout out about how individuals like Rasheen, young people like Rasheen all across this country, are trying to fight to better their community, and gave me a few seconds just to say some words about what's been going on in Ferguson and what we're doing. So like I say, I really feel like on a personal level, if he could wave his magic wand or probably go into executive order, he would do that. But this issue for real of policing, communities being disinvested from, it's bigger than just executive authority, right?
Okay, so tell us this here. So you've talked to the president on a personal level. You come into the press conference room, talk to various people of different statues. Y'all had the big powwow meeting of the mind deal going on, and now you're leaving the White House, and now it's May 22nd, 2016. Are some of those things that you all talked about being implemented? Do you feel like that talk was effective to where it's being executed at this point?
I feel like I understand change and being a young person, and they like to say, oh, young people want stuff to happen overnight. I understand change is going to take time, right? I understand this is a marathon. This isn't just we going to be done next year, right? This is literally a marathon. It's going to be a lot of things that come out of this that make the change happen that we want to see. And after we met with the president in the bigger room, the meeting was about him setting up a task force, a 21st century task force, similar to the commission to study, but on a larger, broader level, studying across the whole country, similar issues that are going on in Ferguson, similar issues that are going on in Ohio, similar issues that are going on in African American communities and communities of color. Like I say, just not on the police brutality issue, but from economic to health to education. And Brittany Packnett, who actually was one of the young people in the room, who talked with the president, who also served on the Ferguson Commission with me, who was in the streets with the protesters many a times, actually served on that task force. So there was some hope that there was someone on that task force that really understood, especially now in now time and now and day, let me say, because none of these issues are new, but they have morphed and changed a little bit, and they're not the same as they may have been 50 years ago when it comes to police brutality. I'm telling you, they come up with different tricks and trades to try to change the rules, to break new rules. So I think from the report that came from the task force, similar to the Ferguson Commission, it's a pathway to start getting legislation passed, to start certain organizations to open up their eyes to racial equity and start doing some work on some of the recommendations that they did in the task force. I'm not sure, to be honest, how many of those recommendations of the task force have been implemented, because it's once again across the whole U.S. I know on the Ferguson, the Ferguson Commission, the commission that I was a part of, I definitely can say it has been successful. Just even this past weekend, Empower, Missouri, gave an award to the Ferguson Commission, but bigger than the award, they took the oath to follow the pathway that the commission set out, and making sure that they're going to pick 3 recommendations to actually try to work on out with the next couple of years. So not just next year after legislation, but a continuous process of working on these recommendations and going to different groups, different spaces, hearing different organizations, and still seeing different organizations being part of the process. As Forward Through Ferguson is the body of the Ferguson Commission now, still trying to make implementations. It's very successful. It can't collect dust, as most people know, because it's also online, and we get that a lot. Is it just going to collect dust? But the Ferguson Commission report, I hope individuals have seen it. There's 180, I think 89 recommendations. I may be wrong, but I think it's 89. It's a lot, but it's a lot of brilliant, everyday people that came to different meetings all across the St. Louis region. Not just St. Louis, we went even out to St. Charles. We crossed that bridge.
All right, so we're going to come right back. This is Erica Brooks once again here with Rasheen in St. Louis, Missouri. Today is May the 22nd, 2016.
Sunday.
All right.